Good evening, I am EJ Tabanao, and we begin tonight with a disturbing rise in online sexual harassment cases. With more people spending time online, perpetrators are using digital platforms to harass and exploit victims in ways that are difficult to track and even harder to stop. Our top story tonight delves into the impact on victims and what law enforcement and cybersecurity experts are doing to combat this growing threat. We go live to our correspondent, Ms. Labrador, with more.
Thank you, Mr. Tabanao. I'm here outside the headquarters of Facebook, one of the sites where online sexual harassment has become an alarming issue. Victims are reporting instances of unsolicited, explicit messages, cyberstalking, and even blackmail. The psychological toll of such harassment can be devastating. Earlier today, I spoke with one of the victims who asked to remain anonymous for safety reasons. Here's what they had to say.
It started with inappropriate comments in my post, but then it escalated quickly. This person found my personal information, started sending explicit messages, and threatened to share my private photos unless I sent more. I felt trapped and ashamed, and it took me a long time to even realize that I wasn't at fault. But the damage was already done, and I'm still trying to cope with the aftermath.
Unfortunately, stories like these are becoming all too common. To shed light on how online platforms are being exploited by predators, I'm joined by Mr. John Bernard Bendanilio, a leading authority in digital safety. Mr. Bendanilio, why is this type of harassment so pervasive, and what can be done to protect people online?
Thank you, Ms. Labrador. Online sexual harassment is very pervasive because it often takes place in spaces where users feel anonymous, and this emboldens the perpetrators. Many platforms still lack of strong enough measures to prevent this kind of abuse. It is relatively easy for harassers to create fake accounts, manipulate privacy settings, and exploit lack of oversight. To better protect people, platforms should invest in strong moderation system, better reporting tools, the use of AI to detect harmful behavior in real time. Users should also be aware of privacy settings and not to share personal details and images through online without considering the risks.
And what steps can individuals take if they find themselves being targeted by online harassment?
The first step is to document everything. Save screenshots, emails, and messages as evidence. Report the harassment immediately to the platform, and if the situation escalates, you should contact law enforcement. It is also important to adjust your privacy settings in all your platforms. Block the perpetrator, and if needed, you should seek help for organizations that help victims of cyber harassment.
Thank you, Mr. Bendanilio. Law enforcement is also stepping up for efforts to tackle online harassment. We now have a statement from Mr. Art Daniel Tindoy, who is leading a task force on cybercrime.
Online sexual harassment is a serious offense, and we are fully committed to investigating these cases. Our cybercrime unit is actively working with social media platform and internet service providers to identify perpetrators and bring them to justice. However, the anonymity of the internet makes it challenging. We urge victims to report incidents as soon as possible and to refrain from engaging with harassers. We also want to remind that the public, even online action, have real-world legal consequences, and offenders will be held accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Tindoy. Now, the psychological impact of online harassment can be profound, often leaving victims traumatized and isolated. To understand more about this, I'm joined by Mr. Kyle Anthony Villaruel, a licensed psychologist who specializes in trauma and cyberbullying. Mr. Villaruel, How does online harassment affect victims emotionally, and what steps can they take to heal?
Online sexual harassment can leave deep psychological scars. Victims often experience the feeling of shame, fear, and lost control over their personal lives because the harassment can happen repeatedly and follow victims across multiple platforms. It creates an environment of constant anxiety. Many people also feel isolated, thinking no one will believe them or what that is their fault. For recovery, it's crucial for the victims to seek support, whether from friends, family, or professional counselors. They need to understand that they're not alone, that there are ways to regain control, both emotionally and digitally. Therapy can also be especially helpful in addressing the trauma and rebuilding self-esteem.
Thank you, Mr. Villaruel. It's clear that this is not just a legal or cybersecurity issue, but a human one as well. Mr. Tabanao, back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Labrador. This surge in online sexual harassment highlights the urgent need for more robust online protections and greater support for victims. If you or someone you know is experiencing online harassment, don't hesitate to reach out for help through the appropriate channels. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops. Stay with us for more after this short break.